Hey there, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Ziera, and I'm the marketing manager here at Altitude. If you don't know who Altitude is, we are a B2B integrated marketing agency that specializes in the life sciences, manufacturing, and software. And today, boy, do we have an interesting topic in store. If you have an Alexa or even just a smart device, which we all have, you might have raised the question, is my device listening to me? Right? We're constantly having conversations day to day with people. And then you hop on your phone and see that same product or that same topic you are looking at. And it can be kind of freaky. So our CSO is here to talk about, is that really a thing? And does that really happen? And what that really means. So I'm going to toss it to our CSO to go more in depth about, is your Alexa listening to you?
Thanks, Ziera. So I am that CSO. I'm Adam Smartschan, one of Altitude Marketing's partners here. And I want to cover today, as Ziera said, whether Alexa is listening to you, whether that Echo is really spying on you the way you think that it is, but critically also how you can use this, from a marketing perspective. Right? Some really interesting lessons to be learned about stories like one I have here from a client. We were talking a few weeks back about advertising targeting, and he said, I was just down in Florida with my family, and I was in a pretty well-to-do place, and I kept seeing Maseratis. And I told my daughter, well, geez, I keep seeing Maseratis around. That's kind of cool, right? And then I saw ads on my phone for Maserati. Something was listening to me. It was either the Echo or it was my smartphone. I was clearly being spied on. And the reality isn't that. And we'll get into why the reality isn't that. But the important thing here from a marketing perspective is that was the perception. There was this immediate assumption made that he was being spied on. And he was kind of okay with it. It was a novelty. It wasn't an invasion of privacy to him. And again, we're going to cover why that matters as well in just a second.
Well, that's also because it happens so often, right? Like I said, we're constantly having conversations and then we hop on our phone and boom, there it is right in front of us. So I feel like that's also why, people look at it kind of as a norm now.
Yeah. It's just part of having an Echo in your house, right? But again, you're not being spied on the way you think you're being spied on. Now, I'm not here to say that smart devices and especially Amazon smart devices are not acting on what you say. They are. Some good research here, and we'll link it down in the description from 2022 from Washington, UC Davis, UC Irvine, and Northeastern University. Go Huskies. That did show pretty good proof that third-party skills on Alexa are calling back endpoints that are not necessarily specified in privacy policies, and are affecting the way that advertising is being served to users. Now, critically though, this research was about interactions with native Alexa features and third-party skills, and also the installation of third-party skills with specific personas attached. This was not saying every single thing being said around an Echo, around an Alexa device, was being used to target ads. It was in very specific cases. Now, it is real, right? This was data that was being used seemingly outside of privacy guidelines, which is its own problem, but it wasn't everything. And we can back that up with some relatively simple math. If we think broadly here, about 15 billion IoT devices in the world, about 8 billion mobile phone subscriptions currently active in the world, and Amazon itself has sold about 500 million Alexa enabled devices. Let's just focus on them just so we can get a sense of what we're dealing with. So one way to look at this is just the raw amount of data it would take for Amazon or anybody to process what's being said near a smart device. So let's assume that each of those devices that Amazon has sold that's Alexa enabled, so 500 million, they're on recording 24 hours a day. And if we take a low quality audio file, usable but low quality, let's call it 159 megabytes an hour. All right, I'm looking at 8-bit audio here. So not great, not anything crazy. So 500 million devices, 24 hours a day, 159 megabytes an hour. We run that math, we end up with about 1.9 billion gigabytes of audio every day just from the Alexa devices. That's not realistic. It is not within the realm of possibility that every single second of audio, every conversation being held around an Echo device is being processed, ingested, and fed back to advertisers in anything near real time. People say all the time, I was talking about X around Alexa and I started seeing ads for X 5 minutes later. That would require processing power that is so far beyond what's possible. It's just not realistic. Again, there are some changes to ad patterns and serving patterns based on interactions with Alexa skills. That is absolutely the case. It is not a 24/7, 365. I talked about Taco Bell. I saw a Taco Bell ad. So back to the Maserati, right? How did those ads show up if he wasn't being listened to, if he wasn't being spied on? Well, on one hand, this is a well-to-do 50-something male in an affluent part of Florida with a lot of Maseratis around. He's the demographic. There's a lot of dealerships around. They want him. He has disposable income. So of course, he's going to be marketed to. And we'll get into the data sources, but there's any number of data sources out there who are able to identify those relatively simple factors. The other part of this is frequency illusion. Frequency illusion is basically you see something and then you see it all the time. Or you think about something and you notice the fact that it's there, even though it's been in front of you the whole time. And that happens quite a bit with these ads, where you're talking about something and you happen to notice the ad that's been there the whole time. They've served however many impressions to you because they're targeting you with the data that's available to them, but you just didn't pick up on it because you weren't thinking about it. But when frequency illusion kicks in, all of a sudden, this really matters to you. All of a sudden, you're noticing it and you didn't notice the however many other times or however many other ads you saw. So it just so happens that X and X matched up, but you're ignoring A, B, C, D, and E and onwards.
Wow, that's actually super interesting and goes to showcase how these devices are really reactive, like you mentioned before, right? They're not proactively spying on us, but we might not have noticed them in the beginning, but they've been reactive this whole time.
Yeah. They're there and they are feeding data back to the networks, right? They can affect the way that Google is serving ads, that programmatic platforms are serving ads, that the Meta suite is serving ads, in some ways that LinkedIn is serving ads. And conversely, Google, Meta, and LinkedIn have built fantastic profiles of you based on your online behavior. So when we talk about the client I was speaking to, it's relatively easy based on what you do on Google, what you do on Facebook, what you do on Instagram, what you do on LinkedIn to understand household income, to understand gender, to understand job status, certainly to understand travel, right? How many of us book our travel through Google? We're handing over the fact that we're going to be in Chicago from day A to day B. Pretty simple to bring all of this together. And when we talk about massive data size, 1.9 billion gigabytes a day of audio being processed and mined in real time, not necessarily realistic, but for us to have our online behavior mined and for profiles of us to be built, that's relatively simple. It's actually, it's something that a lot of folks are trying to solve for. It is the core of ad tech here in 2024. So a lot of this targeting that you see is, again, not based on the fact you were having the conversation. You are being targeted because you're the type of person who would have that conversation, is just matching up with you. So again, this is expected. Folks just assume they're being listened to. And the reason they assume that is because of the proactivity of the advertising they're seeing, the content they're seeing, the fact that their digital experience every day is completely tailored to them. And it often matches with what they say in front of their smart devices. Now, that's good on one hand, right? We have a slightly more personalized experience. It's scary on one hand because, there is a lot known about us and it is relatively simple to target ads toward us, but it's an imperative critically here for marketers to keep up with that. Right? If we're not, again, being proactive in the way that we're serving up advertisements and the way we're serving up offers and the way we're serving up content, we're falling behind because other folks are. So how do we deliver this experience while we know that we can't get a 24/7, 365 feed of exactly what our buyers are saying? We can use demographics and we can use behavior. So understanding what someone does online, where they go online, the spaces they inhabit, the actual activities they participate in, that gives us a clue. And understanding their demographics, right? This could be, again, household income. This could be age. This could be gender. These are all things that are available to us as advertisers in ethical ways, right? We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But understanding where your buyers are, understanding what your buyers are doing, understanding who your buyers are can help you tailor their online experience, can help you deliver that Alexa effect. Right? In some cases, it's as simple as what social platforms they utilize. In some B2B cases, it's going to be LinkedIn. In some B2B cases, honestly, it's going to be Instagram, right? There's a play there sometimes. Sometimes there's a play for Facebook. Sometimes there's a play for the Twitter. It completely depends on where your audience is. Who your audience is matters just as much. Are they tending to browse on mobile phones? Are they tending to browse on tablets? Are they heavily engineering focused? In many cases, that will lean toward Microsoft and Bing-enabled devices because oftentimes those are company issued. Are they graphic designers and creatives? Well, that's going to lean heavily toward Mac. So understanding your audience, their behavior and their demographics is the first step. If you really get them, if you really can just in your bones feel and write down this persona, exactly who they are, you can get to them online and you can deliver the proactive experience that really is what folks assume they're getting because Alexa is listening to them. But honestly, most times it's really just good targeting. Underpinning this is what I mentioned before, the race to the cookieless future. In the past, it was relatively simple to target and retarget based on browsing behavior. It was a nightmare for privacy because we were being tracked at really an uncomfortable level, like exactly what we do as opposed to generally the spaces we inhabit. Cookies are going away. Google is starting to retire support for third-party cookies entirely. We can expect really that by the end of 24, they're completely gone. The reaction to this in the ad tech world has been really fast and, frankly, for my sake, really good. We are getting much closer to true unified online identities that are being sourced and are being served in ethical ways. Granular, hypersensitive behavior is really being frowned upon. It's being excluded from a lot of ad networks. It's not being tracked quite as brute force, I'll say, as it used to be. So ethical targeting data is becoming more and more available. On one hand, upscale, right? We talk about DSPs like the Trade Desk. You can, do some really fancy stuff there, working with some of their data providers. Even down market though, we start talking about, the Googles and the LinkedIns and the Meta platforms. This data starts to be available and usable and baked right into the ad tech itself. So knowing the demographics, knowing the behavior directly within our buying platforms, we're able to source ethically acquired targeting data and utilize ethically acquired targeting data for significantly less money than we used to. On the B2B side, which is where Altitude plays, there's more and more mature and effective offerings, especially on the programmatic side. Even a few years ago, B2B programmatic was very much in its infancy. Right? It was okay, but it really wasn't a lot there. It was rudimentary company level targeting. But now with platforms like 6 Sense and even what you're able to get from StackAdapt and then some of the smaller, more bespoke DSPs, we're able to serve up a mix of intent data. We're able to understand and use demographic data. We're able to understand and use company data. We're able to understand and use job title data, and industry data all stitched together, again, to deliver that proactive experience. Understanding once more the demographics and the behavior, we're able to utilize that and deliver what feels like we're listening to someone, and they accept that. But just because we're able to target them very well, understand when they're buying, how they're buying, and what they want. And last here, it really less on the ad side and more on the content side. What Gen AI has done is started to really customize content in real time. Google and Bing results 8-9 months ago were relatively static, right? It was delivering exactly what had been created for a website or created on a social platform. Now that's almost tweaked, and it's much more custom and it's much more proactive based on the search. So being able to deliver more content at scale has really helped with this. So answering questions, delivering good, solid, credible information backed by expertise, backed by experience, by authority, and by trust has allowed us to reach out through search results in ways that we weren't able to before. Good content is being utilized, and good content is being, again, almost on the fly customized once more to deliver that in real-time result. That is very much what folks assume Alexa was giving them. So to back all this up, how are we here? Alexa isn't spying the way you think it is. Alexa is not listening to you 24/7, 365, feeding everything back to some master clearinghouse, which is then selling out the fact that you talked about Taco Bell to Taco Bell, who can serve you an ad 5 seconds later. It's not working that way. There is interaction with ad networks. It's not 24/7, 365. However, the feeling that it is ubiquitous. We as advertisers have to utilize that. We have to be there. We can't ignore that. We have to understand that folks have accepted the fact that Alexa is spying on me as part of their daily lives. We have to build that experience into our ad workflows and into our content workflows. We can do that by leveraging behavior and demographic data, understanding and knowing our audience, understanding and knowing our buyers, our users, who we want on the other end of that screen, who we need interacting with us and ultimately paying us. And finally, we're able to do this because of modern data tooling, because of modern ad tech. The fact that we're moving toward a cookieless world has made it significantly easier and more ethical to target the right folks at the right time. The fact that Gen AI is effectively customizing content in real time directly on the search result page is allowing us to interact more proactively than ever before. And the fact that these networks are more available to us at relatively inexpensive price points in B2B, in B2C, across the spectrum, is just making it that much easier for us to buy the media, to deliver the experience, and to create what feels like Alexa is spying on our users, but really is just us being really good at knowing them and really good at targeting.
Well, there you have it, everyone. Not only can you debunk the perception that Alexa is spying on you, but you can now take those great insights that Adam has provided to build an effective targeting strategy for your company. If you have not yet subscribed to the Altitude YouTube channel, please do so. And don't forget to check out our latest webinar videos on generative AI and SEO, as well as building an attribution culture. Till next time, guys, I'm Ziera, and that's Adam, and we're Altitude Marketing.